Go home after that. That was pretty much all I was going to say right there. I think I'm good. It's awesome. Wow, Oriana, thank you. Wow. Wow. That was really, really beautiful. I was really, really touched by that. You guys are so talented. I love this ministry. I've been coming here. God, yeah, I know. It's beautiful, isn't it? Thank you. And Tony, really, thank you for inviting me to be here today. I really want to acknowledge you for what a beautiful ministry you've created down here on the Cape. Your facility is beautiful. Your music is incredible. And in the middle of a pandemic, you've got a full house. And, it's just so clear that people love you. And I love coming down to Unity on Cape Cod. So it's awesome. And I acknowledge you for being here. There's all kinds of reasons to decide. It's 20 degrees outside, and we're in the middle of a pandemic. But here you are, living your truth, living your values, being connected in spiritual community, and it's very, very rich. So acknowledge each of you for being here as well. So this week I was on a coaching call with one of my clients. Actually, she called me between appointments. She's like, Jackie, I got to tell you, I had this huge win. Can I tell you about it? I was like, yeah, sure. I love hearing wins from my coaching clients. So what happened? She's like, this whole thing that you're telling me about raising consciousness and changing your vibe, it really works. Like, really glad, because I based my whole career on it, basically. I was like, really? What happened? She said, yeah, well, I was just so pissed off at one of my staff this week. She was supposed to be leading this meeting, and she came in late, and she wasn't prepared. And then she's like, I'm here to take notes, and she was supposed to be leading the meeting. So I met with her afterwards, and I was just like letting her know, like, she didn't show up, and that's not how I wanted. And then right in the middle of the meeting, I was like, you know what? This isn't how I should be showing up. This isn't what Jackie and I were talking about in our call. Wait a minute, I should be doing this differently. So I said to her, can we have a reset? And she's like, yeah, sure. She's like, no, I'm sorry. I want to really come from a different place. She said, and then I just changed everything, and my vibe changed in the whole meeting, and it was great. We got it all worked out. She's running the meeting next week. I love this. How many of you can relate with that? That's pretty much what we're here for. And, I have to acknowledge her. It's not like she's showing up at a Unity church every week, but she was just like, man, I'm catching myself. This isn't who I want to be. This isn't how I want to show up. And she then reset herself. It's amazing. I was having an upset with my son last week over how much time he had been on his video game. He's like, no, Mom, it was just an hour. I was like, no, you've been on it 4 hours. No, Mom. And he says to me, Mom, wait, we're doing it again. We're going down that rabbit hole. See, I've got my perspective, and you've got your perspective, and they're not always the same, right? So even though I teach this, I occasionally have to get my reset from a 16-year-old. Yes. So this is our journey in life, isn't it? This is pretty much what it's about. Today I'm going to call it our ability to alter ourselves, to shift, to grow from the self to the soul, from self-focused living to soulful expression. Isn't that delightful? Isn't that a delightful topic? So let's dive into a little bit. The self. What do we mean when we're talking about the self? Well, it's not like I need to tell you. The self is that part of you that's just full of ideas and opinions and justifications. It wants to protect itself from anybody thinking, I'm not right or I'm not good enough. It's the part of you that will argue and have all kinds of frustrations. And it's your personality. It's the ego, the self. We are here as spiritual beings having a human experience. It's just that human experience is a little loud sometimes. Have you noticed? Maybe it's just me. The self, your personality, it's engaged with physicality, with money and the house and the car and your body. And did I gain 10 pounds? And do I have to go back on Weight Watchers? And am I eating too much? Oh, I think I'm drinking too much. Or you're drinking too much. It's just all like, I have enough money. I don't have enough money. Will I have enough money? The physical realm. And it's also temporal. When you're no longer here, when the you of you, the physicality of you has vanished, so will the self of you. For some of you are like, thank God. Can't come soon enough, right? Versus the soul, your essential nature. And actually not versus. It's not a duality where you're either self or you're the soul. It's more of a continuum of beingness from the self, the human condition, into the spiritual experience of being your God self, your God expression, living a soulful life in the soul. So the soul is engaged in expansiveness, acceptance, oneness. It's the observer of the self. It is the observer of the self. In fact, it is the neutral, non-judgmental experiencer. So when you got that in your head, like, oh, you shouldn't have done that, and you should have been more kind, and why aren't you more patient? That is not the soul. That's just another version of the self, a little more dressed up version of the self that's trying to do a little better. The soul, the essential nature, just observes that whole drama play. Just observes it and is present to it. The soul is not physical, it is the unseen. And in fact, I think the most important aspect of our spiritual journey is our capacity to live our lives engaged in the unseen world. The soul is the realm of the ethereal nature, the unseen, the energy. We can't see energy, we can't see consciousness, but goodness knows we can feel it, can't we? To ever walk into a room in the middle of an argument and like nothing gets said, but you can just feel the vibe that's going on in there, right? So the soul is of the unseen, the etheric nature. And the soul is eternal. When you're no longer here, your soul expression will be. It is eternal. And our path in life, the whole reason for why we are here is to engage in life fully in the self. Like, it's okay to have the self. Eat ice cream and pizza and go to the beach and feel the sunshine. That's why we're here. It's all good. But our purpose and our path is to shed this human aspect, to recognize that we are fully human and fully divine, but to shed that lower vibration, to grow our vibratory pattern, to put out a different vibration into the world of love and peace and unity and oneness. You are the face of God. I had an experience a few years ago where I got to experience both of these in really close proximity to one another. My spouse and I were going to a wedding in Washington, D.C., and I was really, really looking forward to it. It was an extraordinary wedding. It was an Indian wedding. Anyone ever been to an Indian wedding before? Isn't that like the rituals and everything? It's just a beautiful. If you haven't ever been to one, just go home and Google it. Go to YouTube and watch one. It's just what they do. They're walking around the fire. They walk around a fire and say verses and promises and vows to one another. It's just so beautiful. And the Indian attire and just beautiful. But this particular wedding not only was an Indian wedding, it was an Indian wedding where both parties, one was deaf and one was hearing, so it was going to be all in sign language, and it was two men getting married. So it was an Indian gay deaf wedding. How many of you have ever done that before, right? So I was really looking forward to this wedding. Like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And it was like a midday wedding, and my spouse, because we were in D.C., she's like, oh, we should go out and do this in the morning. I was like, I don't think so. Like, shouldn't we just kind of chill and like make sure we're there early? I'm a like, let's get there early kind of gal. My spouse is a just-in-time kind of gal, right? So I was like, no, all right, fine. So I don't know, whatever. We went to the zoo, and we have our son with us, and now I'm like, come on, we got to get back. And I can feel it, right? The self. The judgment, the tension. No, we're good. So we get back, to the hotel, and we're like quick. And it's like, no, we're going to be late. And then, of course, DC traffic, right? So the whole way there, I was just fully, like you could see the tentacles of my nasty selfness just oozing out of me. Judgment and criticism and frustration and righteousness and why can't you ever be on time and you've got to let me handle this and why do we always go through, yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry I'm even telling you about it. But there you go, right? So we get to the wedding and it's gorgeous and, people are beautiful and everybody's happy and we're having a great time and all of that. Whoosh is gone. And I'm now present. Now we're at the reception. About halfway through the reception, my phone rings. I'm late on a Saturday night, and that's odd. And I look at it, and it's one of my coaching clients who rarely calls me and never on a Saturday night. So I take his call, I walk outside, and one of his general manager at his company, who I also coached, had been in a horrible motorcycle accident and was alive on life support, but he wasn't going to make it. There was no brain activity. And I was like, wow. I took it all in. I was standing outside, and I remember looking up at the sky and the expansiveness of the sky and the stars. And I thought, how am I going to be with this? Someone who I'd coached for years, had been involved with this company for a long time. And, so I get this news, and I can hear the music and the dancing and the laughter. And I just stood there, and I thought, this is life. This is it. The tragedy of loss, unexpected accidents, trauma, and the beauty of togetherness and unity and celebration. This is it. And in that moment, I knew myself more fully. If I would have responded just from myself, I would have gone on and been like, you won't believe what happened in this guy, and he had an accident, and I've known him for years, and I didn't do any of that. I was just like, this is my experience. That's their experience. And let me embrace all of it. That is why we are here. To feel and experience all of the aspects of life, all of the aspects of our human nature, all of the aspects of our divine nature, and be able to integrate it into one unique and profound expression, and to bring that out into the world. That's why we're here. That is our purpose. To increase our awareness in every single moment, in all that we do, so that we can just be present, so that we can choose in this now moment, how do I want to be? In this moment, how do I want to respond? Michael Singer, in his book, The Untethered Soul, says that the best toolbox for your spiritual growth is your daily life lived. Dr. David Hawkins, in his book Power versus Force, says, Transcending the Levels of Consciousness, he says, make your life a living prayer. So the best, people ask me all the time, because I'm a speaker and I speak in unity churches and at unity conventions, people ask me all the time, what are your spiritual practices? And I say, well, my best spiritual practice is my life lived consciously, awakened, present, bringing my God self on earth. That's what we are here for. Thank you, dude. The self is so, the role of the self, or the purpose of the self, it's so protective that the self will work really hard to keep you unconscious. Have you noticed? Well, we are unbelievably unconscious, and it just seems that every week there's a new gadget or app or something that will help you be even more unconscious. So we're really swimming upstream here. There is so much out there. Remember, I said the self is the physical domain. There's so much in the physical domain that pulls you outward so that you lose your sense of inner connection and inner security. But what we are here to do is to just simply become conscious of consciousness itself. Get conscious of your consciousness. That's what we're here for. So you can begin right now just with a very simple little exercise. I want to show you how easy it is. Just say hello to yourself. Not out loud, because that would be weird. Just like in your head. Be like, hey there. Notice how you can hear yourself say, hey there. How you doing? I'm okay. Really? What do you think? She's pretty cool. She's a little funny. Why is she having us do this? This is a little weird. Can you hear that? Oh, you just heard me. I know. But you know what I mean. That is what awareness means. Your ability to observe what is happening in your inner world moment to moment to moment. I've been a coach and a therapist for a very, very, very long time. And let me tell you, most people think they're more aware than they really are. What do you mean I'm mad? I'm not mad. Remember, I had to get schooled by a 16-year-old last week, right? Most of us think we're more awake and aware than we really are. Our path and our process in life is to recognize that as we raise in awareness, we also raise in consciousness. and to be able to shift and alter your awareness and your consciousness on a dime, to be able to wake up, be more present. As a social worker, I worked in a adolescent residential care facility many years ago, and it was a group home, a residential community residence, a house, where I think there was 8 adolescent men between 18 and 21 who were aging out of the Child Protective Services. They age out at 21. So it was like a life skills, help them kind of start launching on their own because they were going to be launching out of the foster care system. And these men young men, were just horribly traumatized and abused and unbelievable histories and had been through the foster care system, really, really difficult lives that they'd had. And some of them, were borderline dangerous and aggressive because of the backgrounds that they'd had. And I remember one afternoon we were sitting we were having staff meeting in the main meeting area, and we had to decide about one of the gentlemen if he could have a weekend pass. He had requested it. Now, he had a really difficult background where a lot of violence. He'd been doing great in the program, but a real violent history. He had beaten a police officer with a bat on a baseball field once and almost killed him, and he'd been in juvenile detention before and was released. So we had to really keep an eye on him, and he'd been really agitated in the program all week. So we didn't quite feel safe letting him out for the weekend. We thought maybe he should stay in the program. So the meeting got over, and the guys were always out in the next room waiting to hear, what happened at staff meeting today. And so he comes in, he's 6'3", really big, handsome guy. He's such a sweetheart. And he comes in, he's like, "Hey, Jackie, what's going on? Am I going out this weekend? I'm really looking forward to it." And I was like, "Yeah, we just can't do that, Ben. We had this happen and this happen. We just can't do that this weekend." And his face just dropped and his breathing got heavy. And he's like, "What are you talking about? I want to go out this weekend." I was like, "Hey, Ben, just calm down. We can talk this over." He's like, "No, I'm not going." So the staff went into the office to call the police because we could see where that was going. And she ran into the office, and he went right in behind her and grabbed the phone and pulled it out of the wall. And she fortunately had her cell phone with her, dialed 911, and he came at me with the phone over his head. "What are you going to do now, Jackie? What are you going to do now? Huh? You can't tell me I'm not going to go out. I'm going to do what I want to do. You're not the boss of me. What are you going to do?" And I could, he's like right over me, 6'2", 6'3". The phone is over his head. He's breathing hard. And I had a moment of presence where my heart rate, rather than going up, actually slowed. And my breathing, rather than tightening, softened. And I just looked him in the eye very, very deeply. And I was like, "Hey, Ben, you don't have to do this. It's okay, man. It's okay. We can get through this. You don't have to do this. You can make a better choice. You can make a better decision here. It's okay." And he looked at me, and he looked at me, and I don't know if it was a minute or 5 or 30 seconds. I don't know, but his breathing softened, and he looked at me, and he looked at me, and he put his arms down, and he put his head down, and he pushed past me. And as he reached the door, the police arrived, and he left without incident. He was cuffed, left without incident. It was one of those moments where time just stood still. The only thing I was present to was keep the client safe, keep my staff safe, keep him from bashing my head in, because that's going to ruin his future. And I just felt such love for him and wanting to protect him and keep him safe. I call that a moment of grace. It's just a moment of grace. I don't know where that came from. After he left and was taken away, I went into the office and just sobbed, just cried at how afraid I really was from what had just happened. But we are here to experience those moments of grace as our day-to-day living. When we grow in consciousness, what becomes available to us is that level of connection and presence and oneness. It's what I call living in the domain of miracles. When you live in the domain of miracles, you truly begin being a spiritual master. You begin actually using the unseen world around you to shift and create what is happening in the seen world. You become the co-creator through how you are directing your energy, consciously, presently, in the moment, connecting with the matrix of energy of life itself. See, when your consciousness is down here in the scarcity and lack and stress and worry and fear, that's where you connect with the matrix of energy. So this afternoon I'm doing a workshop called Living in Quantum Consciousness. That's what I'm talking about. The universe is a matrix of energy. And when you're living in those lower realms of consciousness, boom, that's where you connect. Therefore, life gives you back who you are. That is how life works. There is no out there. There is no out there. There is just you expressed and reflected back to you through your own consciousness, through your own experience. So we are here to live in that sense of spiritual mastery. And when you do that, really, it's like life, bring it on, man. Bring it. What you got? You can even embrace hardship and difficulty. One of my favorite Bible verses, favorite in an ironic kind of way, is James chapter 1, verse 2, where it says, you're going to love this, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials and difficulties of many kinds." Who says that? Who says that? Nobody. But I thought, how perfect. Because really, that is what we are here to do, to say, bring it on. I just said to a coaching client of mine last week, and I'm going to say it to some of you, even though we haven't talked, I can feel it in the room. Some of you need bigger problems. Yeah, thanks, she got it. Only one person got it. It's good. Look, I'm just saying, some of you need bigger problems. The rest of you are like, what does she mean by that? She's like, damn, she's right. Right? Some of you need bigger problems because you're worrying about things that are like, look, dudes, you can solve that while you're waiting in line at Dunkin' Donuts for your coffee. But you're like on about it, right? You're using your life force energy, your God-given energy, to worry about that little upset between that family member or that little... Some of you need bigger problems. It's a big world out there. Have you noticed? There is a lot going on in our world. As you grow into spiritual mastery, there's a little bit of like, bring it on. And don't mess with me. Because I'm one with God. That's what we're here to do. So imagine yourself, imagine you're God, right? Like you are, but just play along. Imagine you're God, and like you're observing all of your creation. It's just beautiful, and you're like, oh, I think I'm gonna check out humanity. And so God greets a human and says, hey, how's life? How's it going? And they're like, yeah, it's okay, but I've got too much work, and I'm busy all the time, and my spouse doesn't dig me any longer, and I've put on 10 pounds. God's like, oh, yeah, well, hey, how about your friends? Oh, my friends, they're all about themselves. They're always complaining about this and that, and they don't have time for me anyway. Oh, yeah. Well, hey, what about nature? Isn't nature awesome? Oh, what do you mean nature? It's like summer on the Cape. There's like so many people, like flies everywhere. It's black fly season. I just can't even be bothered. God's a little, scratching Godhead. Well, what did I do wrong here? Maybe I should try again. All right, I'll give it one more try. Hey, how's it going? Hey, it's going great. Why? Well, really? Tell me. Oh, yeah, life is great. I work all the time, but I love my work. And, my spouse and I, gosh, we've been married so long, we think we forgot. But, gosh, isn't it great to be married? And, life is I'm having a great time. Really? Yeah. What about your friends? Oh, my gosh, we've been friends forever. I love my friends. Such varied people. And, they just feed my soul. It's so great. God's getting enthused. Hey, what about nature? Oh, my gosh, summer on the Cape. Are you kidding me? This is like a paradise. I love it here. Nature's beautiful. In fact, all of life is just magical. Let me ask you, if that were you, and God's saying to you, hey, how's it going? Who are you going to be? Because our path from the soul, from the self to the soul, living a soul-filled life, is our ability to guide and direct our intention, to guide and direct our expression, to guide and direct our lives. Because I promise you, God is going to be the person that you meet in fellowship. Hey, how's it going? God is the person that you come home to after church today. God is the person that you meet at work this week. Looking to you, for you, to be that beacon of light, that beacon of hope, that beacon of love, that beacon of oneness, that beacon of joy. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you meet trials of many kinds. So when you have trials, can you meet them with joy? When you have experiences that are bigger than you, can you meet them with the fullness of your God self-expression? Can you live your life in the unseen world rather than being weighted down with your physicality? That is our charge. That is our call. That is our purpose, to grow in consciousness back to the divinity from which we came. And any time any one of us grows in consciousness, all of humanity changes. Thank you.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass., and visit us online at unityoncapecod.org. This video was made possible in part through a grant from Unity Worldwide Ministries and the Templeton Foundation.